This episode of the ZuLoo Poodcast is sponsored by ZuLoo Inc., a benefit corporation dedicated to the goal of universal access to toilets, hygiene, clean water and sanitation through the power of social enterprise. Learn more at ZuLoo.com.
And we crowded into the basement of one of my high school students' homes to watch when the Oscar nominations are called out, and they do it alphabetically. And we were the last name called. We screamed, we shrieked. We were so thrilled. And after we had made it to the final 5 nominations, that's when Netflix contacted us, and we were able to get the film on the Netflix platform, which has been such a boom because Netflix does have it in almost every language in 196 countries. So that's been a huge help to us. And we hope they're happy too.
I think they're probably very happy.
Welcome to the ZuLoo Poodcast, where we talk all things poop, toilets, and sanitation. Through insightful news, impact stories, and quirky humor, we aim to discuss and highlight the critical role toilets play in whisking poop out of our lives, the impact toilets have, or lack thereof, in the health and wellness of humanity, and what ZuLoo is doing to help solve the current global sanitation crisis.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the ZuLoo Poodcast. We're excited to have you listening in this week. We've got 2 guest announcements where we've got Jocelyn Gardner back in the studio with us.
Hey, it's good to be here.
Yeah, welcome back.
Excited
She's back to nest with us.
I just want to make sure that gets out more. People
That's
know
right.
that's an
You want to
option.
make it trending.
Exactly.
It is trending out there.
You need to make us a TikTok, a little how-to TikTok.
An instructional video on how to nest.
How to
guys,
nest.
Stay tuned, it's coming.
I'm actually nesting right now. You can't see, but under here is a
nice little cushion of toilet paper.
cushion.
He
is
adds his own
comfortable.
flair on how to do it.
Love it. Well, in addition to Jocelyn, we had the opportunity to interview Melissa Burton, who is the founder and the producer of Period End of Sentence and the Pad Project. So you'll hear her interview and
An Oscar winner.
An Oscar winner.
She showed us the Oscar. It was legit.
Yeah,
Like it was
that's
still
amazing.
shiny.
it was.
Does she keep it in her bathroom?
She had it.
She should.
I don't know about the bathroom, but she
seemed
had
like
it like
right
next
there,
to her.
front and center.
If
In her
I would
interview.
take it with me wherever I went.
Yeah.
If I
You have it in
had
your
one.
purse. Like,
Yeah.
why is your purse so heavy? What was it 8 pounds, right?
8.5 pounds.
Really?
Pretty heavy.
Yeah. Is that crazy or
That's really heavy.
Yes.
Wow, I guess they don't mess
Yeah,
around.
now you know why none of the women are lifting them up, right? It's just the men.
They just hold it nice and close.
Yeah.
When are they going to have some equality in the award itself? Because it's always this naked. It's a naked man.
Yeah.
Does he have a
Yeah.
sword or something, or
No.
standing?
That
He's
must
just
be hard for
standing.
you guys
Something's
to be so
like-
misrepresented.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd have put a skirt on it or something.
Or just some hair,
Maybe a little hair or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Seems kind of stoic.
Well, his name's Oscar. I mean,
That's right.
Yeah.
You could go Osket.
That'd be
Oscar.
cute. Yeah.
Anyway,
I love it. Anyway, we're excited to show you her interview. But before we do, Darren's got our weekly poo news.
we got some poo news, and I think it's related to the period project. And I admittedly never had a period, so I can't really speak as an authority on it. But what I can talk to you about is the news. Apparently, there's a tampon shortage. Did you know this?
no.
It's real. This is August 3rd. Is that today?
That's today.
That is today.
This is there's a tampon shortage affecting 34 million people in the United States. Apparently, in some areas, not everywhere, but there's a shortage in a lot of stores related to supply chain issues. Says this is the latest to affect women following the baby formula.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I know,
first the
this is
baby
crazy.
formula.
Yeah.
And now,
Right. So this is all, I mean, you could trace all this back to COVID and all the, disruption related to that. I mean, obviously there's a lot of, plastic materials that go into a tampon. from what I know.
Yep.
Does it specify, is it a plastic shortage or cotton or
It's supply chain issues related to the manufacturing of the tampons. So, all the elements that go into a tampon, you think of what, like cotton absorption material and
That's pretty much it.
Plastic.
Cotton and
Plastic.
I think
It's not a high tech.
I know there's a string in there.
Yeah.
A string's in there somewhere.
Also cotton.
So maybe there's a
Could
string.
be a cardboard shortage, but
Cardboard is involved.
Are people still buying those?
I hope not.
Those are the worst.
So the name of the article is tampon shortage. Is this the push for more sustainable menstrual habits? Right?
Yeah.
Is this like a wake up call? Like, oh, hey, maybe there's other alternatives that don't require plastic.
I mean, there are.
I don't know how many iterations there have been of the tampon, but I'm sure we are ready for an upgrade.
You know what? I use a cup, and I switched to a cup years ago, and it's so much better.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never tried that, but I've had friends who try that and they all swear by it.
Just saves so much energy, so much money. I mean, it's a little bit tricky getting used to, but then once you're used to it, it's just
it does seem kind of like a paradigm shift to navigate that.
Yes.
So, well,
how
much detail? How many questions can I ask about that?
I mean, you can ask me any questions.
Can you leave it in for longer? Is that the appeal?
You leave it in. Yeah, you can leave it in for longer. I mean, it depends on the heaviness of your period and what absorbency of tampon you're using compared to like disc or cup, but. Yeah, typically they can be left in for like 10 to 12 hours.
But you weren't talking about a cup, though. What were you talking about? The device you're talking about?
The cup.
A cup?
It's a cup. Okay, so
there's a cup that's more like this shape, and then there's a disc that's this shape.
Okay, because when you say leave it in, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, so it just sits right on top of the cervix.
It's not in kind of thing.
No, it's in. Okay. It's more in than a tampon is.
Oh, it's okay. Got it.
Yeah,
because it's all up in your business.
It's just collecting all of the blood, right? Like a cup would, rather than absorbing it like a tampon. The tampon is just. I mean, we're gonna get into some anatomy here.
Yeah. When you said cervix, you lost me. I'm like, okay. I think that's that other thing. The thing.
Okay, we need to do some education for our listeners here and our founders.
Yeah.
Yes, a cup goes in further than a tampon.
I did not know that.
Yes. So you can.
So what is?
I thought a cup would be like a cup. But
yeah,
no.
I should just.
What's the number? What's the main benefit over that versus a tampon?
It's sustainable. It's reusable, right? So you just sterilize it. It's made of silicone.
You don't throw it away.
So you just sterilize it. You wash it after every use, and then you sterilize it after every cycle or before your next one. And so then it's just there to use and use versus, one period you might, again, depending on how heavy your flow is, you might go through an entire box or like jumbo box of tampons. And that's like probably $12, $15 now, but a cup is $30.
And you can use it
and
for
you
as
can
long
use
as
it for as long as it holds
how
up.
how often do you have to like swap it out? Or
I mean, it just depends on how heavy your period is. So if you have a pretty heavy flow, you'd probably have to swap it out like every 6 hours. But if you have a pretty normal flow,
I guess it would
probably go 12.
right? If it like you left it in it, I guess.
Yeah, it does. So it suctions. If it's placed in properly, right? It suctions, but it can still overflow because ultimately liquid is, it can really get everywhere. But for the most part, you can like really.
I have one last question.
Yeah.
So if
I have 20 questions,
I didn't know I would be giving a lecture on menstrual
I'm
cups.
so curious about this. And I should know more. But if you're in public, and you need to clean it, that's got to be mildly embarrassing.
You just suck it up.
And just do it in the sink, like at a Maverick gas station or something?
Yeah, I mean, you would just dump it in the toilet, right, in private, because you've got to remove it, and then you've got to probably nest in your panties for a minute, or if you're not wearing a pad, or you wear a pad just to protect your panties. And then, you just run out into the sink.
Oh, that was my question, is the logistics on emptying it.
Yeah.
That's where a toilet comes in handy.
That's where a toilet comes in handy.
Otherwise, you'd have to, I don't know, I guess go in the sink or...
Heard some women just take in a bottle of water with them, you know.
Just rinse it over the toilet.
Yeah, or I think Hello Tushy has like portable bidet type bottles and they just rinse it that way. You don't have to rinse it after everything, but obviously like it's probably more hygienic to do that. Plus the little holes that create the suction can get clogged, so washing it out helps to unclog those and
well, there you go, everybody who can't find a tampon. Here's an alternate product.
A couple of great products out there. We can link them in the notes for you if you've been considering buying a menstrual cup or a disc.
Yeah, I might have to try it. Give you a follow-up.
Yeah,
my mind's blown right now. I was thinking, I mean, the whole time, because you've mentioned cups before. And so, you know, I'm just thinking cup, like a cup. Is
like a drinking cup.
Yeah, it's like a cup and, you know, it kind of catches it when it comes out, you know. I mean, I had no idea where it was placed, you know. But that is news to me.
I haven't tried period panties. Want to try those. Those seem cool.
That one I can't quite.
I know, because it feels like it'd be a pad, right?
Yes.
I saw an article about that.
Yeah.
Because I knew we were going to talk about menstruation. So I was like, okay, well,
better brush up.
I guess they're, you know, this underwear, you know, it's a thing, you know, period panties, I guess.
Yeah,
I have a problem with the word panties. Like,
is that,
I just really hate
underwear, undergarment.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
I know. Don't apologize.
That's what I saw some article about. You know, that's what they're like
tagline is.
It was underwear.
Yeah,
designed for. I guess it's like a pad that's built in kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like a washable,
absorbent.
reusable. I have a friend who has endometriosis, so she bleeds a lot. She swears by him. She loves him. So,
which all this is great because
there's a tampon shortage.
There's a tampon shortage.
Totally,
and it says tampons are relatively expensive compared to other ways. And according to Bloomberg, again, average cost of menstrual pads over the past year has increased menstrual pads have increased 8%, and tampons have increased almost by 10% just over the past. We got inflation and higher costs about everything, but tampons is no different.
You know, I have to say this about a menstrual cup too, and just being in public, it's just way more discreet. You think it's not because you're going to have to like leave the stall to rinse it out.
It feels like it would be very, hey guys, don't mind me.
Yeah, but if you're in like, you know, I've been in like an airport bathroom and there's just other women doing their own thing. Everybody's in their own. But if you're at like I don't know, anywhere, I've just always been self-conscious of like the wrapping on the tampon, you know. I'm like, don't mind me.
I know what you're doing over there.
Yeah.
In that way. Plus the packaging, you know, comes in like a cute little bag. So if it's in your purse and your purse falls out, somebody's like, oh, it's a little jewelry bag. It's not your hot pink Tampax. Crinkly, whatever.
It could make it less noisy.
Yeah,
I agree.
I know.
Yeah, the crinkly paper would be a downer.
It is.
You know,
you remember the like silky, plasticky type wrapping that they used to put? I feel like it's different now, but it used to be so noisy. Anyway,
no, I don't remember that.
It was kind of like
it was like aluminum foil type.
It was kind of like if you ever got Hostess cupcakes, that sort of same wrapping.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not
totally out. I'm not.
You're not totally out of the loop here yet.
But this article also talks about, they call it period underwear,
mm-hmm.
Undergarments that soak up blood, and comes in a variety of colors. I would think red would be a good one.
You'd think, but actually black. Black is
black would probably be better.
Black is the best.
It says a company called Thinx with an X.
Yeah.
Named one of the best period underwear by the New York Times.
I think they actually do also, if I'm thinking of the correct brand, they also have a social responsibility where they go out and help to end period poverty. So
nice, because that's the topic today.
Because that's the topic of the day.
Poverty. You know, not the authority on the subject, but we're talking about it. But I guess one of these period undergarments costs about $30. So probably more than a tampon. But then again, tampons are
Tampons you have to buy.
Talk about clogging
month.
toilets. I mean, when you go to a wastewater treatment plant, they say, well, what's the worst things? And they said,
it's tampons.
Dude wipes. Those are the worst, but I don't think most women would throw them down the toilet, would they? Or,
I think it's pretty common. Yeah. I was taught that you flush them.
I was too.
Okay, well.
So.
Sorry, sanitation department.
Sorry.
A lot of those are mine.
I'm better educated now.
Those poor guys downstream are just deal with it. So anyway, tampon shortage, take note. Maybe
it's time to rethink your period products.
Your practices, you know? We were talking about menstrual underwear. And this other article, this is swimwear.
Wow.
Yes, menstrual swimwear gains in popularity. This is like a couple of days ago.
That would be a tough sell for me.
This is in Brussels.
You're asking for a lot of trust.
Yeah, that's a big risk to jump into the water and just hope that there's not like a bloom.
It's like it's like a swim diaper. It's like, how does that? I don't understand the technology there.
Yeah. So it says. It says recent survey said that 2/3 of women said that they refused to go swimming on holiday due to having their period. If they had a period, they wouldn't go, right? Whereas with the menstrual swimsuit, it makes it possible or more,
Periods just are the most inconvenient part of being, one of the most inconvenient things about being a woman.
They are.
So I love that people are trying to come up with these new innovative ways to make it less obnoxious.
Yes.
But it is like...
Still obnoxious.
Keep yeah. Keep going. We haven't cracked that code quite yet.
Until we can figure out how to be fertile and just not have them.
Yes, exactly.
I'm there. That day when that happens, love it.
Yeah, so I guess the way it has some kind of waterproof, material that,
Does it look like a? Does it look like a diaper?
Look. Like, how do you hide that?
I don't know. Do you want to look?
Yeah,
at this?
I do.
Here's
Yeah, but they're not showing anything below.
Trevor, what do you think?
Her perfect torso.
Seriously,
it's not.
That's a stock photo right there.
I like menstrual swimsuits. Don't you, Trevor? No? I
don't think they're selling the swimsuit there. They're selling something else.
Yeah, well, she seems like she's doing just fine.
Yeah, she does not look inconvenienced at all.
She's on her period, obviously, because she's in the shot and has no trouble. So maybe it's something to, next time, when you've got that, going to the pool and it's that time of the month, you're just like, I'll just throw on my...
Someone scheduled vacation at the wrong time of the month.
Yeah.
I'll just
go anyway.
I think I'm testing that in my bathtub before I take it out.
I got my cup and my swimsuit.
Yeah, then
just double up.
You're okay.
You're doubled up, ready to go, right? So
I just can't imagine that you can't see that. And maybe most people aren't looking so they wouldn't notice, but I just don't know how they would know. But I would know and I would feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So
same.
Well, this article has mood. Well, yeah, there's a bunch of brands here that they're apparently the technology is like more. They're not bulky like they used to be. Somehow
this isn't like a new thing. This has been around.
Well, I mean, yeah.
And they used to be bulky, apparently.
Apparently they used to be. Well, that was one of the criticisms in the past that they were a little bulky there, where you don't want to be bulky maybe. But yeah. Anyway.
Something new. Perhaps I'll try it. You try it.
I'll try the cup.
You try the cup. I'll try the
swimsuit.
And we'll compare notes.
And Trevor, what are you you're not gonna try any of this? No. Okay.
We'll find something for you. We'll find something.
I think I'm okay. I'm not gonna try it. Anyway, that's my news.
Oh, love it. Good poo news moment. Yeah. We learned a lot.
I learned a lot.
Excited about trying
I've got more
some
questions
new ways to deal with this
answers,
problem.
I love it. Well, let's hop into Melissa's interview. Well, Melissa, welcome to the ZuLoo Poodcast. We are so honored and so excited to have you on the show. Welcome. Welcome from beautiful Los Angeles.
Thank you, Kelsey. I'm thrilled to be here with ZuLoo, and thank you for the great work that ZuLoo does. It's so important.
Oh, back at you. I was just telling my mom last night how excited I was to have you on the show. And she hadn't heard about period end of sentence. And so I told her, phenomenal. Like, you just got to go watch it. Super quick, to the point, but like so well done. And she texted me later that night. Normally it takes her a pretty long time to like watch a show recommendation, but she texted me later that night and she was just like, I just got done watching Period End of Sentence and my mind is blown.
Oh,
I had no idea.
That's so sweet. I love to hear that.
And same for me. When I watched it, I was just like, we do work in India and we hear these women's stories. I read them daily. But it's different seeing it in action. So
right.
Thank you for doing that important work. We'd love to know, most of our listeners are pretty new to the PAD project and Period End of Sentence. So tell us a little bit more about the inception. Which is the chicken, which is the egg? Which came first, the PAD project or a Period End of Sentence? How did that all start?
It's a great question. And in fact, the PAD Project nonprofit organization, which seeks to end period stigma worldwide, and the movie Period End of Sentence, about a sanitary pad making machine set in a rural village in India, both were parallel tracks. Here's how it happened. So I'm a high school English teacher, and I got picked to be a faculty sponsor for an organization called Girls Learn International, which seeks to educate girls to the same degree as boys worldwide. Girls are less educated than boys worldwide for various reasons. One of those reasons is because young women suffer from what is now known as period poverty, which is an issue close, I think, to ZuLoo's heart, which is the lack of knowledge about one's reproductive biology, the lack of product, and the lack of access to a safe and clean way, sinks, toilets, to manage one's period. So back to the story. We learned at the United Nations that one reason girls were dropping out of school was because of period poverty. We were a group from Los Angeles. We determined to make a film about this and to work with a sister organization, a sister school. Action India was the name, and we knew they wanted a pad machine, which was a new invention at the time. And so we sought jointly to fundraise to make a film and to get a pad machine. And we set up the PAD Project nonprofit at the same time that we were working together to make the film. So long-winded answer, but parallel track.
Wow. I mean, I just like the amount of work that must have been all at one time, because founding a nonprofit is so much work, but then having to produce and find all the people to do a movie and then move forward with things, because it's a real thing. Yet this, finding the pad machines, doing that work, that wasn't just for the movie. That's real work that's going on in India.
Yeah, 100%. And a labor of love, and definitely needed our partners on all sides, from Girls Learn International here to Action India in India to the high school where I work that was very receptive and pitched in as a community, Oakwood School in Los Angeles. So a lot of joint organizations working to uplift this project and make it happen.
So what was your role in all of that? Was it to be sort of director delegator? Were you like ideas person? How did you fit into all of those moving parts?
A little crazy, every great teacher knows, I think, that your students will teach you. And I certainly had to be humble enough to recognize all the things that I didn't know. I'm an English teacher. I can do a good chapter on the Scarlet Letter, but I don't really know how to produce and direct a film. Yet the passion was there. So we went and we got a great director, Rika Zitabshi, coming out of USC Film School, terrific young director who basically did the film for the price of a film ticket. My students and I educated ourselves on period poverty. We partnered. The film Period End of Sentence that your mom watched is a 26-minute film, but it was really about 5 years in the making of cultivating this relationship with our partner community in Action India, making sure they wanted the machine, could see the machine, setting up visits to Kathikera, the village where you see the film, and at the same time becoming a fundraiser. So fundraising through Kickstarter campaigns, bake sales, everything we could think of. And we were fortunate enough to have a great community of support. Half of the world's population will experience menstruation. So I think even though at the time, and I'm sure you get this with your nonprofit, I mean, it's pretty edgy to talk about sanitation and that kind of thing. People don't want to talk about that over dinner. Well, same with periods and period poverty, though it's becoming more accepted. But just like everyone needs to use a restroom, half of the world definitely will experience menstruation, and we do need things in place to make sure that women are not discriminated against.
Absolutely. And, I think even though it's just half, I think some people look at it, it's just half the world's population who will experience this. It's not just a problem for that half, right? It's a problem for all of the relationships that they have. It's a problem for the education system. It's a problem for the economic environment that they're in. So it really becomes not just an individual issue, but it's a community issue. It's a family issue. And that's what we see a lot with ZuLoo, is we really like to focus on individuals and families. And just like Pad Project does, working with grassroots organizations in those areas, because that's where things can become most effective. I'm curious to know, what was it like working with those organizations in India and trying to sort of bridge cultural gaps and things like that there?
It's a really good question. And certainly periods are a taboo subject as depicted in the film, and particularly in the very rural village in which we worked. And ironically, one of the things that you would think might be a hindrance to making a film about an intimate issue turned out to be a help. That is that we, the film crew, the director, we do not speak Hindi. The village that we shot the film, they did not speak English. So we had a line producer, Mandakini Kakar, a wonderful person who is a woman and who did the translation. And to be honest, I think there was something in just that little separation. So it wasn't like a director saying, "How do you feel when you have your period?" or "Who taught you about your period?" But it was someone in your own language talking to you and then sort of translating it back. And I think that one layer of remove was able to help us to capture a more intimate feeling with the women and the young women, students, and in some cases, girls who we were interviewing. So I think that layer helped. In that case, that cultural language barrier actually helped.
I hadn't even thought about that, but that makes total sense because, if I'm thinking about somebody foreign coming into my home and trying to talk to me about something so intimate, I'm probably going to lie to them a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I don't, that's such a vulnerable thing. And for as much as I think maybe the West is a little bit more the forerunner in breaking stigmas and talking about these difficult things and saying, look at all the impacts that they have. Sometimes that means that we can be a little bit less sensitive to developing countries, developing cultures that are still having a lot more taboo than we have. So that's really neat. I'm loving hearing that and just thinking, what a special position for the line producer also to be in.
Yeah.
To think, how do I navigate all of that? And, really precarious territory for sure.
Talented person. Yeah, absolutely.
So did you actually... What areas of India were you mainly focused on right now?
So since the Oscar win for Period End of Sentence, the flood of emails was relentless, and the call for pad making machines and washable pad programs. Washable pads are pads that you sew and can reuse if you have access to clean water and a safe place to dry them. So now we are all over India, every region, north, south, east, west, in almost every state in India, actually. The where the film is in Uttar Pradesh, and it's in a northern region, about 40 minutes outside of Delhi.
Very cool.
So
Kelsey, you were saying?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, actually, Melissa, if you have been there. It sounds like you were there while filming is happening and negotiations and things like that.
Yes.
Was that your first time in India when you
It was, and it was wild. So our film crew went there 2 times, once right when the machine arrived in the village, and then again 6 months later to see the impact of the machine, and that's when the filming was done. Then I was able to go to screen the film for the women in the village for the first time about 6 months after that. And that was very exciting. I was able to travel with my daughter and some of my students to the village, and we were nervous wrecks because we didn't know how before we showed the film to anyone or took it to a film festival circuit, it was of the utmost importance to all of us that the film sat well with the women who were in it. And we saw them, and to us, they were like celebrities because we were watching, the cut of the film through so many iterations. And I'm like, oh my God, there's Sneha. And I felt like I knew her, and she's looking at us like, okay, who are you? And right before, the women of the village all crowded into the sort of largest home in the village, and they projected the film on a bedsheet over a window. And again, not speaking Hindi, one of their leaders had a private talk with them before, because there was some concern that perhaps the husbands, the fathers might feel upset by some of the content or things that were said. So there was a lot of concern just going into the film. And then we all sat and watched the film together. Everybody laughed and cried, and nobody was upset. On the contrary, I think that husbands and fathers and uncles were quite proud of their sisters, wives, mothers, etc., who were in the film, and everything worked out. But it was quite an experience. It was very profound. And we got to see the machine up close, which is much smaller in person than it appears on the film. The film makes it look much larger. It's really like a couple blenders put together.
Wow, really? Yeah, it totally looks much more substantial in the film, like it's part of this big old warehouse, and it looks like we might imagine a factory looking.
It's like a little broom closet. Yeah.
Wow. But what a special experience to then be in the room with these women and get to communicate with them and their families and see firsthand that barrier breaking down of communication or of stigma, right? That like this is unhealthy, or it's at least a lot of the messages we run into in our communities are things like you're dirty, it's an evil thing. Something that needs to be shunned. Women are often sent to separate areas to menstruate. So what a special thing to be there, and to be there with your daughter and some of your students and witness that growth firsthand.
Yeah, it was really profound. Really exciting.
Well, so walk me through what it was like getting a nomination and then winning an Academy Award.
It was crazy. I think none of us... what we thought, I mentioned that organization, which we still partner with, a wonderful organization, Girls Learn International, and they have a curriculum. And we thought, so our aim in making the film, we thought we can make a film and it can be part of the curriculum for Girls Learn International, and it can be an educational film, and maybe high school students will see it. And we actually had 40 hours of footage, which we whittled down to the 26-minute film. And as we started to debut the film on the film festival circuit, we began to think we might be on to something, which is the response that we had. I see Darren has a Sundance hat. And so you might know there's a thing called a jury award and an audience award. And a jury award makes you qualified for Oscar. An audience award means that audiences react. And right out of the gate, we didn't get into Sundance, but that's okay because we got into other really small film festivals, which were Oscar qualifying. So our first film festival was called the Cleveland International Film Festival. We won the jury award. So right away, we knew we were Oscar qualifying. And then as we went through different film festivals, we were winning the audience award or the jury award. And so it was really gratifying. And it just kind of had a snowball effect. And Netflix, which picked up the film for distribution, did not pick it up until we were not even, so there's a short list and then there's a nomination. So short list is like 10 out of 100 qualifying films. And then the nomination is 5. And we crowded into the basement of one of my high school students' homes to watch when the Oscar nominations are called out, and they do it alphabetically. And we were the last name called. We screamed, we shrieked. We were so thrilled. And after we had made it to the final 5 nominations, that's when Netflix contacted us, and we were able to get the film on the Netflix platform, which has been such a boom because Netflix does have it in almost every language in 196 countries. So that's been a huge help to us. And we hope they're happy too.
I think they're probably very happy.
Wow, that's awesome. Just to be nominated and all the work. I mean, it's such a well done and a very timely topic, and super awesome. We know how much work just to do our little podcast. Okay, we feel like it takes a lot of work but to do a full feature documentary is super awesome. But congratulations.
Thank you very much. And it is a lot of work to do a podcast. I know that is true.
As far as the machines themselves, though, what are those built in India as well, or how did that? Is it as far as the actual machine that makes the pads, is that something that I know you've turned it into a social enterprise, which we're super interested in knowing more about, how that works.
Thanks for asking about that. So the machine that you see in Period End of Sentence was invented by a genius named Muruganathan, who is an Indian inventor who was shortlisted for the Nobel Prize for this machine, and also the subject of a Bollywood movie called Padman with a very charismatic Bollywood star. We're proud that we have the real Muruganathan in Period End of Sentence. And for those of your listeners who have seen the film, he's the one who says the strongest creature created by God in the world, not the lion, not the tiger, the girl. So he's the one who says that. He did something extremely generous, which is that he did not patent his machine because he wanted it to be available for people in low income and rural communities. And so since he made the machine, this would be in like 2013, he started to make it. A whole cottage industry around pad machines has sprung up. Now there are automated machines, semi-automated machines, manual machines. It's still a relatively new industry, but just as you said, Darren, the idea of a social enterprise where women can actually earn wages and market and make their own pads and sell them to their local community is definitely the idea. So the Pad Project now works in Kenya, Afghanistan, Sri Lanka, India, Nepal, and we work with a number of different vendors depending on where the region or the community is. So we're happy to be able to offer that solution. And we're looking for pad machine inventors in South America. There's a big demand in South America, but right now there's no way to get the machine all the way there, or to East Africa or South Africa, where there's also a demand. So it's a kind of a brave new world of pad machines. So
I'm muted. Is the machine, is it able to be manufactured in country, or is it something that needs to be imported in? I don't know how technical the machine is, as far as, I guess it's just more of a, cutting out the pad itself.
Yeah.
And so is that part of the pad project, is helping to facilitate the manufacturer of the pads, or is it more training on the business model? Or maybe expound upon that, if you wouldn't mind.
Yes, to all of the above. So we work globally. Okay. So there are, for people who want the machines, we connect them to vendors in their area who can help. So we sort of facilitate the match between machine and community and provide grants to help a community in need get a machine. We also work, I alluded before, to something called washable or reusable pads. So that's not a machine-made pad. Those are made, and this is a very eco-friendly opportunity. So women sew pads from cloth, and then it's there's a soluble fiber in the pads, and that's another pad. And then in the United States, we work on just distributing product to homeless shelters, domestic abuse shelters, schools, communities. So we're called the Pad Project, but all products are great. We're into menstrual cups, anything that we're pro-choice on whatever manner of menstrual management you want to take on. So some things are comfortable for some users, but not comfortable for other users. And we just want to make sure that everyone has a clean, safe means to manage their period.
Yeah, and that's great, because there's so many different variations in culture and practices and all of that. So that's great. You're so universal in that approach. I mean, we do the same thing with toilets. It depends on, the technology is going to be matched to the culture and all of that. And when we started ZuLoo, I naively thought, toilets are all about poop, and that's really about it. But as we got into it, especially when we started doing the projects in India, and we saw these stories coming back with what an impact the toilet had on keeping girls in school and all of that. It just sort of opened my eyes to, and then of course Kelsey coming on to say, hey, look, this is more than just toilets aren't just about poop, but it's about the whole menstruation side of it is just such a huge aspect as well. So definitely, we're certainly glad that you're taking the charge on that front.
Definitely. And no, it's so important. And depending on how accessible the toilets are, and if a woman is going to feel safe, she may be a target of sexual harassment, depending on where the toilet is. So there's so many things beyond cleanliness, which is a huge hurdle. But there's location, there's safety, all of that.
Absolutely. So, Melissa, my last question for you is, what is the future for the Pad Project? You mentioned wanting to get into South America. What else is on the horizon for the Pad Project?
Well, our vision statement is end menstrual stigma, period. So we hope that eventually periods will be seen as a source of health and strength and well-being for everybody who bleeds, and that women and girls will no longer be discriminated against on account of a natural biological process. And once those attitudes shift, I think the rest will follow. So period products will no longer be taxed. They won't be hard to access in common bathrooms like schools and libraries. People will just be able to have them. And in general, we'll have a healthier attitude toward people who menstruate.
Love it. We're on board with that. We are moving in that direction too. Not just for our friends in India, but also those here in the United States and in Europe and in countries where we think that we are pretty advanced in that thinking, but still have a long way to go. So you can count us as an ally, as a good voice, another person to shout from the back of the room. Let's end period poverty.
Yay!
I love it. Melissa, thank you so much for being on the show. It's just been an absolute delight. Would you pick up your Oscar and show our viewers?
Of course.
Exercise that good arm muscle.
I was telling Kelsey right before we started recording the podcast, it's 8.5 pounds. So it's pretty exciting. It's a good, unfortunately, in COVID, it's become like the best Zoom accessory. That's a fun thing about it. So it definitely helped launch the PAD Project nonprofit and get that voice for period equity out there in the world. So we're really excited about it.
And you did too, Melissa. We're so thankful for you taking on that opportunity after your personal nomination to join in this movement, because if you hadn't done that, who knows, when all of this would have gained momentum and gone forward. So thank you for the good work that you do, for facilitating all of that, and for being a great voice and empowering women across the globe.
Well, right back at you at ZuLoo, and thank you for this opportunity to talk about period equity and sanitation. It's all so important.
Love it. Well, we do. I just thought, hey, we're sponsors of the World Toilet Summit this year in Nigeria, and it would be a delight to have you down there. It's more than just toilets.
Wow. When is it?
It's November 12th. Is that right, Darren? I get my date right?
It's actually November 18th and 19th. It coincides with World Toilet Day on November 19th. And so,
love it.
Yeah, we'll be in Nigeria, and
fantastic.
Yeah, maybe bring your Oscar with us so we can touch it. Looks like a good paperweight, if anything else.
Yeah, have it.
Comes in handy for things.
Check it through customs. I don't know. But yeah.
Oh, we love it, Melissa. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be in touch. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks so much, Darren and Kelsey.
You.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. What did we think of Melissa's interview? Wow. I mean, Jocelyn, you weren't there, but like Melissa's amazing.
It sounds like the work she's done and like where she started in her journey to get there is pretty remarkable. And the impact that she's been able to have.
Yeah.
And that the world is recognizing it, I think is really, really special. And hopefully pushes some real social change, which it sounds like it's doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, she mentioned all these countries that, it started in India in these rural towns, much like our projects, and it's just exploded to be in Afghanistan. I mean, that just blew my mind. And then she did say there, it's difficult for them to get into South American projects just for manufacturing purposes. But the fact that she's gotten into parts of the Middle East, into Africa and India, and she's working in some other Asian countries, and just the huge movement that she's had here in the United States, I think particularly with the teen age range, right? And drawing awareness and eliminating shame. I mean, yeah. It's crazy impactful.
Pretty amazing.
I'm just so grateful that she decided to accept the opportunity to, lead that small project. And she probably
is she still teaching as well? Oh my gosh.
I know.
Yeah,
she has kids
that's
too.
Still her full-time job.
Woman?
She's still an English teacher.
Yep.
And so
that is so cool.
I mean, how many English teachers have an Oscar? Yeah, well, and we talked, before the interview, we talked about, cups and tampons, but I mean, this pad, I mean, I haven't seen it, but it seems like a very low tech thing that can be easily and inexpensively reproduced.
Yep.
And that's what I thought was the coolest thing about it is like, they're not just like giving these out, but they're actually empowering women to kind of make it a business to where they can sell these pads to other women in their communities, and then also, use it as a business that way, you know.
It's cool how she took that holistic approach instead of just trying to solve this particular part of that problem.
Right.
But how can we impact a woman's life overall with this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she's improving relationships. She's building community. It's been a while since I watched the documentary, and if you haven't seen it, I'd recommend. It's quick. It's like 25 minutes long.
I think it's on. I think I saw it on Netflix.
It's still on Netflix.
I actually watched it on a plane somewhere. I was flying somewhere, and you know how you can scroll through documentaries, and it was great.
Yeah, really one of the parts of the documentary that I love is, you know, they highlight this one woman who she's just like, I feel like I need to do this. I feel like I need to try to sell these pads that we're making and going out and trying to just spread the word. And I mean, she just faces so much rejection because women don't want to talk about it. Women don't, want to be associated with a woman who's talking about it. And eventually she makes a break, right? One person decides like, okay, I'm going to hear you out. This is a problem my family faces. Like, I need this. And then it just, this small like focus group then that she runs just explodes. And it turns in from her just talking about menstrual health and reproductive health and pads to one person to a group of like 60 women. Mm-hmm. And then each of those women is going out and they're grabbing a friend and a family member. And so it really gained momentum so quickly and can just spread like wildfire if people are just so willing to talk about it, and Melissa certainly saw that happen pretty rapidly. I mean, she said it was 5 years or so in the making, and I still think that's pretty fast to go from high school teacher to
Oscar
winner. She's not on the grid. She's not like in anybody's purview for, up and coming actress or up and coming producer or director or anything. She's just a normal lady doing her amazing job teaching kids, and then boom. Yeah, her journey so inspiring.
Yeah, super awesome. As far as that goes, we're glad she was able to come on, and we look for the sequel. I don't know what the sequel is going to be. Or is there a sequel?
So it's not the end of the sentence.
It's not the end of the sentence.
There's going to be an exclamation point on that period at some point, I think. So,
I will be so interested when they break into that South American market to see what that's like, because I think there's some crossover in between, Southeast Asian cultures and Hispanic culture, but I also think they're super different. Mm-hmm. So it will be really interesting to see how that's received, if she'll face the same barriers that she did before, if because of the experience she has now and that her team has now, if that'll be easier.
She'll just take her Oscar with her.
So,
you can trust me. I'm from Hollywood.
I know.
They'll be like, yes, we love that.
Yeah, so just from an economic standpoint, just when we talk about costs of different, menstrual products, right?
Yeah.
That seems like that pad is the, the lowest, most affordable option.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I don't know.
Definitely. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the interview. Hope you enjoyed it. Your, just spontaneous lesson on
all the
menstrual
things you
cups.
Didn't know that you wanted to know about.
If you have any questions about menstruation, email Kelsey, and she will personally email you back.
Happy to give you a little maturation class.
That's right.
Refresher. But we'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for listening to the ZuLoo Poodcast. Follow us on social media at our links in the show notes below. To learn more, visit our website, ZuLoo.org. If you liked the podcast, be sure to subscribe, like, and comment. For even more ZuLoo fun, send us an email with your toilet stories to podcast@ZuLoo.com for a chance to be featured on the podcast. This episode of the ZuLoo Poodcast is sponsored by ZuLoo Inc., a benefit corporation dedicated to the goal of universal access to toilets, hygiene, clean water and sanitation through the power of social enterprise. Learn more at ZuLoo.com.